Your face looks funny. You do not even have a dad to protect you.
really does.
Those words made 7-year-old Meadow run to the bathroom and cry. The boy who said them laughed. The other kids laughed too. Nobody knew that in 3 days, 50 of the toughest men in America would show up at her school. Nobody knew that the ground would shake from their motorcycles. Nobody knew that this tiny girl with a black eye would change everything. Before we continue this amazing story, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with everyone you know. This story will touch your heart in ways you never expected. The sound of 50 motorcycles filled the air like rolling thunder that rattled the soul. The ground shook with a primal fury, as if the earth itself were awakening in rage and reverence. The windows of Lincoln Elementary School shuddered violently, glass humming with the raw power outside. Teachers bolted to the windows, hearts pounding in their chests, eyes wide with a mix of terror and wonder. Kids pressed their tear-streaked faces against the cold glass, breath fogging it in frantic bursts, their little hearts thundering in unison. Nobody had ever seen anything like this before, nothing that seized the spirit and refused to let go. 50 colossal men on roaring motorcycles, engines snarling like wounded beasts, all clad in weathered black leather jackets that bore the scars of countless roads. All with long tangled beards framing faces etched by life's cruelest storms. All with tough, weathered expressions that hid oceans of unspoken pain and unyielding resolve. They thundered into the school parking lot like a triumphant parade from the depths of a warrior's dream. But this was no mere parade. This was something much more special, a vow forged in fire. A shield of brotherhood descending like guardian angels on iron steeds. At the front of the school, poised on the weathered steps with trembling knees, stood a tiny girl whose spirit burned brighter than the sun. Her name was Meadow. She was only 7 years old, yet her eyes held the weight of ancient sorrows. She had long brown hair, wildly unkempt and desperate for a mother's gentle brush, strands clinging to her tear-dampened cheeks. She wore a pink dress that clung too tightly, faded and frayed at the edges, a relic of happier days, now stained by nightmare. And she bore a black eye, a grotesque bloom of purple and black swelling around her left eye, throbbing with every heartbeat, a brutal badge that twisted onlookers' guts and forced them to avert their gaze. The sight piercing, like a dagger to the heart. But Meadow was not looking away, her gaze locked in defiant hope. She was staring at the bikers, with eyes shimmering like storm-tossed seas. And she was crying gut-wrenching sobs that racked her fragile frame, not sad tears that drowned in despair, happy tears, hot and relentless, the kind that erupt when a whispered prayer, begged for in the darkest nights, shatters the silence and becomes gloriously real. Let me tell you how this happened, how a child's shattered world was rebuilt by thunder and unbreakable bonds. 3 weeks before this day, Meadow lived in a cramped, shadowed house with her mother, every corner echoing with unspoken fears. Her mother's name was Shanna, a woman whose once bright smile had been dimmed by endless storms. Shanna had a boyfriend. His name was Derek. Derek was a bad man, a very bad man, whose presence slithered like poison through their veins. Derek would stumble home drunk, reeking of cheap liquor and rage that boiled over like hellfire. He would yell, his voice a thunderclap that shattered peace and left ears ringing with terror. He would throw things, plates, shattering against walls, glasses exploding in shards that mirrored broken dreams. He would hit Shanna, fists landing with sickening thuds that drew muffled screams and rivers of silent tears. And sometimes, when Meadow's tiny body surged forward in desperate protection, arms outstretched like a shield, Derek would shove Meadow too, his cruelty a blinding force. That is how Meadow got her black eye, her heart screaming as she planted herself in front of her mama, only for Derek to shove her with monstrous strength, sending her crashing down, her face slamming into the table's sharp corner in a burst of white-hot agony that blurred the world in crimson. Meadow's mama cried and cried, sobs heaving from her chest like waves of guilt and grief crashing endlessly. She said she was sorry, voice cracking with raw remorse that clawed at the air. She said she would make Derek leave, her promises whispered through swollen lips and trembling hands. But Derek never left. He always slunk back, his shadow eclipsing their light once more. One day, Meadow's teacher, Miss Rosa, saw the black eye, a bruise that screamed volumes in its silent horror. Miss Rosa was a kind woman with a soft voice that wrapped around you like a warm blanket and warm hugs that melted away the cold edges of fear. She asked Meadow what happened, her own heart fracturing at the sight. "I fell," Meadow said, the lie tasting like ash on her tongue. That is what her mama told her to say, words rehearsed in hushed, terrified tones. But Miss Rosa knew, her intuition a quiet fire igniting in her chest. Teachers always know, their souls attuned to the hidden cries of innocence. She called the people who help children, voice steady, despite the tears stinging her eyes. They are called social workers. A nice lady named Patricia came to talk to Meadow, her steps gentle, her presence a beacon of hope. Patricia had kind eyes that sparkled with empathy, and she brought Meadow a teddy bear, soft and plush, a tiny anchor in the storm. "Sweetie," Patricia said, her voice trembling with restrained sorrow, "did someone hurt you?" Meadow looked at her shoes, scuffed and riddled with holes that mirrored her fractured world. She whispered, voice barely audible over the pounding of her frightened heart. "Derek hurts Mama. I tried to stop him. He pushed me." Patricia's eyes filled with tears, hot streams tracing paths down her cheeks as her arms enveloped Meadow in a hug that poured out love like a dam breaking. "You are so brave," she said, choking on the words, holding the child as if she could absorb every ounce of pain. "We are going to help you and your mama." That same day, police officers came, sirens wailing like justice unleashed. They took Derek away in handcuffs, the metal clinking coldly as he thrashed. Derek screamed and said bad words, venom spitting from his lips in futile rage. Meadow's mama cried, tears a torrent of tangled emotions, relief warring with lingering fear. Meadow did not know if her mama was sad or happy or both, her own heart a whirlwind too vast for her small chest. The social workers said Meadow and her mama could stay together, a mercy that bloomed like a fragile flower in their souls, but they had to go to a safe place. It was called a shelter. A shelter is a special house where people go when they need to be safe, walls fortified not just by brick, but by compassion. At the shelter there were other women and other children, faces etched with the same haunted shadows. Everyone had sad stories that hung heavy in the air, like unspoken laments. Everyone was scared, pulses racing at every unfamiliar sound. But everyone was also safe. A profound relief that eased the constant knot of dread. There were no bad men there, no looming threats. There were no mean voices slicing through the night. There were only kind people who wanted to help, their gestures weaving threads of hope into tapestries of healing. Meadow and her mama shared a small room, a sanctuary bathed in soft light. It had 2 beds with crisp sheets that cradled weary bodies, and a window framing glimpses of a brighter world. It was clean and quiet, a hush that soothed frayed nerves. Meadow liked it better than home, because Derek was not there. His absence, a balm that allowed her first untroubled breaths in ages. But Meadow was still sad, a deep ache gnawing at her core like an unhealed wound. She missed her old school, the familiar halls now ghosts in her dreams. She missed her friends, their laughter echoing in empty recesses of her mind. She had to go to a new school now, Lincoln Elementary. The kids there did not know her, their stares piercing like arrows. When they saw her black eye, they whispered, voices hissing with curiosity and cruelty. Some kids were mean, their words sharp barbs that drew invisible blood. "What happened to your face?" a boy named Kyle asked at lunch. his tone laced with mocking intrigue that twisted her stomach. Meadow did not answer, throat tightening with unshed tears. "Did you get in a fight?" another girl asked, eyes gleaming with insensitive glee. "Leave me alone," Meadow said quietly, voice quivering with a mix of defiance and crushing isolation. She sat by herself every day, the lunch table a vast desert of loneliness. She ate her lunch alone, each bite tasting of salt from silent tears. She played alone at recess, swings creaking like her solitary heart. She felt so small and so lonely, a speck adrift in an uncaring sea. She wished she had someone to protect her, someone whose presence alone could banish shadows, someone strong, unyielding as mountains, someone who would never let anyone hurt her or her mama again, a guardian whose love roared louder than any storm. One Saturday, Meadow's mama took her to the park, fingers intertwined in a grip of fierce protection. It was a sunny day, golden rays piercing the clouds like promises of joy. The kind of day that makes you feel a little bit better even when you are sad, warmth seeping into bones chilled by trauma. They walked through the park, steps tentative yet hopeful, and Meadow saw something that made her stop dead, breath catching in a gasp of wonder. Motorcycles. Big shiny motorcycles gleaming like armored steeds under the sun. And big men standing around them, talking and laughing with voices that rumbled like distant thunder, camaraderie wrapping them in invisible armor. They wore black leather jackets with patches that told tales of loyalty and battles won. They looked tough, auras radiating unbreakable fortitude. They looked strong, muscles coiled like springs, ready to defend. They looked like the kind of people who could protect you from anything, shields against the world's cruelties. Meadow's mama held her hand tight, knuckles white with maternal fear. "Stay close to me, baby," she said, voice edged with protective urgency. But Meadow was not scared. Her heart fluttered with a spark of awe. She was curious, soul drawn inexorably forward. She walked closer, tiny steps bold. Her mama followed, nervous tremors betraying her racing pulse. One of the men saw Meadow, his gaze softening like dawn breaking. He had a long gray beard framing a face weathered by kindness beneath the grit and kind blue eyes that twinkled with unspoken warmth. His name was Gunner. He smiled at Meadow, the expression crinkling lines of hard-won wisdom. "Hey there, little lady," Gunner said. His voice was deep and gentle, a rumble that soothed like a father's lullaby, long denied. "Hi," Meadow said quietly, voice shy yet laced with budding trust. Gunner saw her black eye, the bruise a thunderbolt to his heart. His smile vanished, replaced by a storm of fury and sorrow that darkened his features. His face became serious. Jaw clenching with restrained rage. "What happened to your eye, sweetheart?" he asked, tone thick with protective ache. Meadow looked at the ground, shame and memory twisting like knives. "A bad man hurt me. He hurt my mama too, but he is gone now," she murmured, words heavy with the echo of terror survived. Gunner bent down on one knee, lowering his massive frame, so he was eye level with her fragile world, the act and a profound bow of respect. "I am sorry that happened to you," he said, voice cracking with raw emotion. "No one should ever hurt a little girl, or her mama." His words hung like a sacred oath. Meadow looked into Gunner's eyes, peering past the toughness into a well of profound kindness, strength that could move mountains, safety that enveloped like an eternal embrace. She asked a question that surprised everyone, including herself, a desperate plea from the depths of her wounded heart. "Will you be my dad?" The words spilled out so quietly, trembling on the edge of hope. Like a wish made on a falling star, fervent and fleeting. Like a prayer whispered in the suffocating dark, begging for light. Gunner's eyes filled with tears, crystalline drops welling in the eyes of this big, tough biker man. with tattoos mapping his journeys and scars, etching his battles, and a beard down to his chest, tears that betrayed a heart vast enough to cradle the world. The other bikers heard what Meadow said, the question slicing through their banter like divine intervention. They all stopped talking, frozen in a moment of collective heartbreak. They all looked at this tiny girl with a black eye and a pink dress, her vulnerability a mirror to their own hidden pains, asking a stranger to be her father with a voice that shattered souls. Gunnar looked at Meadow's mama. Shanna was crying too, tears cascading in rivers of gratitude and lingering grief. "I am sorry," Shanna said, voice breaking on sobs. "She has been through so much. She just wants someone to protect her," she confessed, arms wrapping around herself, as if to hold her fracturing world together. Gunnar stood up, his towering form a pillar of resolve. He looked at all his biker brothers, eyes blazing with purpose. They were all part of a group called the Hells Angels. People thought they were scary, whispers following them like shadows. People crossed the street when they saw them coming, fear rippling in their wake. But these men had big hearts, oceans of compassion hidden beneath leather and ink. Many of them had their own sad stories, ghosts that haunted midnight rides. Many of them knew what it was like to be hurt, pain carved deep into their beings. Many of them knew what it was like to need someone strong, a lifeline in the abyss. Gunnar spoke in his deep voice, resonant with unshakable conviction. "Brothers, this little girl asked me to be her dad. I cannot be her father, but we can do something. We can show her that she is not alone," he declared, voice swelling with emotion. "We can show her that there are people in this world who will protect her," he vowed, fist clenched over his heart. Another biker named Havoc stepped forward, his approach deliberate, eyes fierce with solidarity. He had tattoos snaking all over his arms like vines of defiance. "What are you thinking, Gunnar?" he rumbled, tone laced with eager brotherhood. "The girl goes to Lincoln Elementary, right?" Gunnar asked Shanna, gaze piercing yet tender. Shanna nodded, tears nodding with her. "Then we ride," Gunnar said, the words a battle cry that ignited the air. "We ride to her school. We show everyone that this little girl has 50 dads now," he roared, voice thundering with paternal fire. "We show her that she is protected. We show any bully or any mean kid or anyone who would hurt her that she has a family now. A family of bikers who would do anything to keep her safe," he pledged, the promise echoing in every heartbeat. All the bikers nodded, a wave of solemn agreement rippling through them like a sacred rite. They understood, souls aligning in perfect harmony. This was not just about one little girl, though her light guided them. This was about doing what was right, a moral compass cutting through chaos. This was about using their strength to help someone who needed it, channeling thunder into tenderness. Gunnar bent down again and looked at Meadow, his massive hand gently cupping her chin, lifting her gaze to meet his tear-glazed eyes. "I cannot be your dad, sweetheart," he said softly, voice thick with love he wished he could fully give. "But I can be your friend, and so can all these men. We will come to your school. We will show everyone that you are not alone," he promised, each word a lifeline. "Would you like that?" Meadow's eyes went wide, sparkling with disbelief and dawning joy that lit her face like sunrise. She nodded so fast her hair bounced wildly, a giggle bubbling through tears. "Really?" she breathed, hope exploding in her chest like fireworks. "Really?" Gunnar said, smiling through his own tears, the expression radiant. "I promise." And when a biker makes a promise, he keeps it etched in blood, sealed in thunder, unbreakable as the bonds of true family. If this story stirred the thunder in your own heart, hit that like button and subscribe. It's how we keep the ride alive for every Meadow out there. 3 weeks crawled by like an endless winter night, each dawn dragging Meadow's heart a little lower. She did not know when the bikers would come, only that Gunner's promise lived inside her like a secret flame. Her mama did not know either, stroking Meadow's hair each bedtime and whispering, "Hold on, baby. Good men keep their word." Meadow went to school every day, clutching that whisper, scanning every rumble in the distance, hoping today would be the day the sky split open with thunder and love. School was still a battlefield of small cruelties. The kids were still mean, their words sharpened on boredom and fear. Kyle, the boy whose smirk cut deeper than fists, trailed her like a storm cloud. "Your face looks funny," he sneered at lunch one day, loud enough for the whole table to snicker. "Stop it," Meadow begged, voice cracking like thin ice. "What are you going to do about it?" Kyle laughed, leaning in until she smelled his bubblegum breath. "You don't even have a dad to protect you." The words detonated inside her chest. Meadow fled, pink dress flapping like a surrender flag. She locked herself in the bathroom stall, knees to chin, and let the sobs rip free. Ugly, choking sobs, for her mama's bruised arms, for the home that smelled of Derek's rage, for the hollow space where a father's hand should have been. She cried until her ribs ached and the tiles blurred. But she was not alone. She just did not know it yet. Destiny was already revving its engines on the horizon. That afternoon, Miss Rosa found Meadow at recess, crouched in the dirt like a wilted flower. With a stick, she drew roaring bikes, chrome wings spreading across the dust. "Meadow, honey, are you okay?" Miss Rosa's voice floated down, soft as dandelion seeds. "I am okay," Meadow lied, the words tasting like rust. Miss Rosa lowered herself to the ground, silk dress be damned, until their eyes were level. "You can talk to me. I am here for you, always." Meadow searched those kind eyes and felt the question claw its way out. "Do you think people can have 50 dads?" Miss Rosa's smile trembled with wonder. "I think love doesn't count heads, sweetheart. It counts hearts. Some kids have one mom who's a superhero. Some have 2 dads who braid hair. Some have grandmas who bake magic. And some," her voice cracked, "some have 50 leather-clad angels who ride thunder to prove a promise. Why do you ask?" "I met some bikers at the park," Meadow whispered, eyes shining like sunrise on chrome. "They said they'd come. They said they'd show everyone. I'm not alone." Miss Rosa's breath caught. "Bikers? What kind of bikers?" "Big ones," Meadow said, spreading her arms until they shook, "with motorcycles that growl like lions. They're called the Hells Angels." Miss Rosa had heard Whisper's midnight news. Wary glances, but Meadow's face glowed with a joy so pure it rewrote every rumor. "When are they coming?" "I don't know," Meadow breathed, hugging herself. "It's a surprise." The surprise detonated the next Monday morning. Meadow sat in class, tongue poking from her lip as she copied numbers. Miss Rosa wrote equations in looping chalk. Everything was ordinary, until the air itself began to tremble. It started as a distant heartbeat. Then it grew teeth. The rumble became a roar, a living beast clawing closer. Windows rattled like frightened teeth. Pencils danced off desks. Children froze, eyes saucer-wide. "What is that?" a girl squeaked. Miss Rosa peered through the glass, and the chalk slipped from her fingers, shattering like her composure.
"Oh my goodness."
The class surged to the windows. 50 motorcycles stormed the parking lot, sunlight exploding off chrome like heaven's fireworks. 50 bikers in black leather, beards whipping in the wind, patches blazing Hell's Angels across their chests. They circled once, engines snarling a war cry of love, then cut the thunder dead. Silence crashed louder than sound. Gunner swung off his bike, boots hitting asphalt like justice. He strode to the steps, voice rolling across the yard. "Meadow! Meadow! Are you here?" Inside, Meadow's heart detonated. They came. They really came. Tears flooded so fast she couldn't see.
Miss Rosa,
She gasped.
that's them. That's my friends.
Miss Rosa's confusion melted into a grin bright as the bikes. Go, honey. Fly. Meadow flew. Bare feet slapping tile, pink dress a comet tail, she tore down hallways that blurred into light. Doors burst open. Sunlight swallowed her whole. 50 titans stood in perfect formation. Leather gleaming. Eyes soft as dawn. 50 smiles cracked open just for her. Meadow's knees buckled. Sobs tore free, joy so fierce it hurt. She sprinted into Gunner's arms. He swept her up, crushing her to a chest that smelled of oil and safety, heartbeat thundering against her ear. We told you we'd come, he rumbled, voice breaking. A promise is a promise, little one. The circle closed. 50 giants knelt or crouched. A fortress of muscle and mercy. One by one they greeted her. Hey, princess, I'm Havoc. Thunder any storms come, you call me. Reaper. Only thing I'm reapin' is bullies. Steal your backbone when yours feels bent. Bear hugs on demand. Wolf howls for you at midnight. Ghost I'll haunt anyone who hurts you. 50 names, 50 oaths, 50 fathers, forged in fire. Her classmates spilled outside. Kyle front and center. Mouth gaping like a fish on dry land. Whispers died. Eyes widened until they watered. Principal Daniels approached, tie askew, voice quivering. Sir, may I ask why you're here? Gunner set Meadow down, but kept her tiny hand swallowed in his. This child asked for a dad. We can't give her one, but we can give her an army. His voice rolled like Judgment Day. She's been hurt. Scared. We're here, so no one ever makes her feel small again. Mr. Daniels looked at Meadow, really looked then, at the wall of leather and heart. His glasses fogged. I see, he whispered. Thank you. Gunner faced the children. Voice gentle thunder.
Listen close. Meadow is braver than all of us combined.
Anyone lays a finger or a word on her, they answer to 50 uncles who ride Harleys and keep promises. Clear? Every head nodded. Kyle's chin trembled. Shame painted him crimson. Bear stepped forward, mountain in human form. Real tough ain't pushing little girls around. Real tough is lifting 'em up. Burn that in your hearts, kids. Then the gifts began. Teddy bears rained, some store-bought. Some stitched on long midnight rides. Patches torn from sacred vests. Sewn with shaking fingers. Crayon drawings of Meadow riding shotgun on a chrome stallion. A tiny Harley replica that actually revved. A pink helmet blooming with hand-painted daisies. Meadow's arms overflowed. Tears carved shining rivers down her cheeks. She had never been buried in this much love. It felt like drowning in sunlight. Teachers wept openly. Miss Rosa's mascara ran black rivers. Mr. Daniels dabbed his eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, shoulders shaking. When every gift was given, the bikers formed twin walls of leather and honor. Gunner took Meadow's hand. Together they walked the gauntlet princess and protectors around the entire school. Engines growled, a low, protective hymn. Children lined the windows, palms pressed to glass, mouths forming perfect O's of wonder. Let every soul see, let every heart remember. This little girl, with the fading black eye, was never alone again. 50 fathers had roared in on thunder, wrapped her in steel-winged love, and rewritten her story in exhaust and tears. If this moment cracked your heart wide open, smash that like button and subscribe. We're keeping the engines warm for every kid still waiting on their miracle. After that day, the world tilted on its axis and poured sunlight straight into Meadow's chest. Everything, every breath, every heartbeat felt reborn. The kids at school woke up different. as if the bikers' thunder had shaken the cruelty right out of them. Kyle shuffled to her table the very next lunch, sneakers scuffing, eyes glued to the floor like he was afraid the tiles might bite. "I'm sorry I was mean," he mumbled, voice cracking on every word. "That was wrong, really wrong." Meadow's pulse hammered. She could have hurled his apology back like a stone. Instead, Bear's gravelly truth echoed in her ears. Tough isn't tearing someone down. Tough is lifting them. She slid her tray over, making space that felt like forgiveness. "It's okay," she whispered, throat tight with mercy she didn't know she owned. "Want to sit?" Kyle's head snapped up, eyes shining like she'd handed him the moon. "Really?" "Really." They became inseparable. Kyle wasn't bad, just a boy wearing toughness like an ill-fitting mask. Meadow peeled it off, one shared secret, one recess race, one traded cookie at a time. Soon the girl who'd mocked her bruise was braiding her hair. Timothy begged to push her on the swing until her laughter stitched the sky. Meadow's lunch table overflowed. Her recess circle spun wide enough to dizzy the sun. She counted friends the way other kids counted stars, too many, too bright, impossible to hold them all. But home, oh home, bloomed fiercest. Shanna stood taller every morning, spine forged in the fire of second chances. She marched into the grocery store, apron tied like armor, and brought home paychecks that smelled of hope. Pennies stacked into dollars, dollars into keys that unlocked their very own apartment. 2 rooms, peeling paint, and a window that caught sunrise like a promise. No Derek, no midnight crashes. Just the soft hush of a door locking out fear forever. Patricia arrived each week like a fairy godmother in sensible shoes, arms full of library books and dreams. She sat cross-legged on their rug, helping Shanna fill out college forms, while Meadow colored beside them, the scratch of crayons sounding like freedom. And the bikers? They never faded into legend. Every Saturday, the street trembled 50 engines, idling like patient dragons. Gunner lifted Meadow onto his bike's tank, her small hands gripping the bars while wind whipped her giggles into the sky. They taught her to pedal a bicycle, 50 giants cheering each wobble until she flew. They fixed leaky faucets with the same hands that once cracked skulls for justice, humming old rock ballads while Shanna baked them lopsided thank you pies. Meadow's 8th birthday detonated joy across the park. A pavilion drowned in balloons, the color of bubblegum and thunderclouds. A cake tall as her torso, frosting roses trembling under candle flames. 50 leather-clad giants sang happy birthday in voices that rattled birds from trees, off-key and perfect. Meadow squeezed her eyes shut, wish bigger than any sky. Let every scared kid feel this: 50 arms, 50 heartbeats, 50 yeses. She blew. Candles surrendered in one triumphant breath. Cheers erupted like cannon fire. Gunner knelt, leather creaking, and draped a tiny jacket over her shoulders. Black leather, butter soft, stitched with a patch that stole her breath. Meadow, protected by 50 angels. It swallowed her elbows, sleeves pooling like wings she'd grow into. She looked up, 50 bearded faces blurred by tears, her mama's smile trembling, Miss Rosa's hug fierce, Patricia's proud sob. "Thank you," Meadow said, voice small but unbreakable. "Thank you for being my family." Not a dry eye in the county. Tattoos glistened. Scars caught tears like medals. Years blurred knee scrapes to prom corsages, training wheels to training bras. The bruise faded to a ghost under makeup, but the memory stayed vivid. A compass needle pointing toward kindness. In high school, Meadow founded Angels for Kids, locker posters screaming in glitter, "No kid alone." She stood on picnic tables rattling donation jars while bikers in full colors guarded the doors, daring anyone to laugh. Shanna graduated top of her night class, tassels swinging like victory. She opened an office with a sign that read, "You are safe here." Mothers walked in, trembling. They walked out, roaring. Derek rotted behind bars, name fading like cheap ink. Meadow sent him no hate, only pity, for a man who never learned that strength bent toward breaking is just weakness in costume. 18th birthday. Gunner pressed pink and black keys into her palm. Her own bike purred beneath her, paint gleaming like the dress she wore the day her world cracked open and let the light in. "You're all grown," Gunner rasped, gray beard trembling, "but you're forever our girl." She threw her arms around his neck, leather against leather. "You saved me," he chuckled, tears salting his beard. "Little angel, you saved us, reminded us roads are for riding toward someone who needs you." They roared through town that day. Meadow, at the heart of a diamond formation, hair whipping like a battle flag of joy. Strangers stared. Some flinched at the patches. If they'd looked closer, they'd have seen the truth blazing on every face. Love looks like thunder when it chooses to protect. Decades later, Meadow tucked her own children into beds that smelled of safety. She unfolded the tiny jacket, Patch still proud, and told them the story, every tear, every rev, every yes. "Family," she whispered, kissing sleepy foreheads, "isn't blood. It's the promise that echoes louder than engines. It's showing up. It's staying." Her children grew up and paid it forward toy drives, crisis hotlines, midnight rides to scared doorsteps. Love, once a seed in a bruised little girl's chest, became a forest. And somewhere, on a quiet night, 50 old angels, beards snow white, eyes still kind, listened to distant thunder and smiled. They heard a pink bike leading the pack, carrying their girl, their legacy, their forever daughter into the dark to light someone else's way. Because real angels don't need halos. They need hearts big enough to say yes. 50 times, yes, to a trembling voice asking, "Will you be my dad?" If this story wrapped your heart in leather and set it racing, smash that like, hit subscribe, and keep the engines warm. Somewhere tonight another meadow is whispering into the dark, and love is already revving to answer. The end. Did this story touch your heart? Please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss another inspiring story, and share this video with your friends and family. Let's spread this message of hope and love to everyone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching. And remember, you are never alone. There are angels everywhere, just waiting to help. Sometimes they look different than you expect, but they are there, always.